Hey there, true believers. You're tuned into Baxter Building Radio via the Negative Zone feed, and welcome to episode 35 of the Fantastic Four Fancast. My name is Nate Charles. I'm your host. And as always, I am joined by my co-host. His name is Shane Murray. How are you doing tonight, Shane?
I'm doing all right, I think. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay. Screwed up my knee a week ago, and I'm suffering the consequences from that, trying to figure out if something's torn or not, but otherwise, I'm okay.
I mean, hopefully you're okay.
Yeah, we got a lot of things to do, and it requires legs to do it on. So,
Yeah, we also have a lot of things coming up this summer that you don't want to be out with a knee surgery on.
yeah. So, if I can have this taken care of once con season hits in May, hopefully, keeping my fingers crossed on it. What have you been up to since our last recording session, good sir?
Nothing. We went to Reptile Land. I guess that was the big thing last week.
Okay, well, I know what Reptile Land is, but for our listeners who may not, necessarily live in northeastern Pennsylvania, tell them what Reptile Land is.
I mean, it's pretty big because like most of the license plates in there were out of state when I was there on Saturday. But it's a smaller reptile zoo that's dedicated to reptiles and lizards and some amphibians. But like they have a Komodo dragon and it's part of the breeding program through America. So like I was there like 2 years ago when they were trying to breed it. That was an interesting time watching 12 guys try to corral two Komodo dragons with 4x4 like 4x8 sheets of plywood. And I'm like, if they could blow you guys over in a second. Like four grown men are nothing to this thing. It knocks oxes over. But yeah, so it's always fun and you never know what you're gonna see there.
I
Uh
wonder what that job pays.
Not enough because they're venomous. So their bite causes like sepsis over time. So like they don't go and just straight up attack. They go like knock something over, take a bite, and then let it walk itself death, and then go eat it afterwards.
Huh, I did not know that. I'm not super familiar with lizard zoology, so
Yeah, I'm weird and like weird things. Not to like Kurt Connor's extent weird, but weird.
for those of you who don't know, Kirk Connors is the lizard in Spider-Man. And if you you
My
know,
bad.
no, it's cool. I'm assuming our listener base probably will, but you know what? We've actually picked up a few fans who are literally listening to Fantastic Four stories for the first time via our podcast, which is kind of crazy cool in my opinion. So shout out to those listeners out there. Thank you for joining us, and we're glad you're here having a good time with us.
Sometimes a sad time with us.
Well, have you made it to the comic shop lately, Shane? It is literally right down the road from Reptile Land.
Yeah. So I didn't go last Friday. I made it Saturday afterwards because why would I have gone twice out that direction in 1 week? What about you? Did you make it to the
Wait,
comic shop?
wait, I'm sorry. I'm confused with what you just said. Why did you go twice? It sounds like you went
I
twice.
didn't. I didn't. No, I
Uh,
didn't go Friday. Usually I've been trying to go Friday after work. So I didn't go last Friday. I came home and said I'll go tomorrow after we go to Reptile Land, which then we got 4.5 inches of snow here, which then when I left here, it was still snowing. Got to down by you where it wasn't snowing and it had snowed a little bit, and then got out to South Williamsport and it snowed nothing. So I was the only car in the parking lot at Reptile Land with snow on it. I was like, of course.
if you drive fast enough, you'll get rid of the snow.
Yeah. I drove down the highway, but it still didn't go away. There was a lot of snow. It packs really well in between the roof racks.
Ah, so what'd you pick up on your last visit?
What did I pick up? I think I only got like 3 books. Supergirl, Transformers, yeah, 4 books. Ninja Turtles and Action Comics.
Nice, nice.
So what about you?
Well, I made it out there today and I picked up, some new Doctor Strange, some new Captain America, Space Ghost, and Red Coat, little X-Men, but also was real happy to see that the first issue of Dungeons of Doom was out today. So I grabbed that to try, and the latest issue of Fantastic Four.
Oh, cool. That means I'll be picking up that tomorrow when I get out there.
Yeah, we can gush over that maybe next week. But this week you were talking about lizards, and well, there's definitely some lizards in today's book, so how about we take that as our opportunity to get started on talking about Fantastic Four, Volume 1, Issue 10.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so today's book was cover dated for January of 1963, but the release date was October 9th of 1962. Cover price was 12 cents, but you know me, Shane, I had to go into price charting today and take a look at some values. I've got one for a graded 9.8 copy as to what it has sold for since then, and an ungraded copy as well. We normally play this by Price is Right rules. See if you're going to win by guessing the price and keeping it under, but being close to it and not going over. So, Shane, that being said, what do you think a graded 9.8 copy of Fantastic Four Volume 1, Number 10 has sold for?
$5,200.
Well, I will say you are under.
I'm blatantly under, huh?
You are blatantly under.
Uh, is it like four times? Are we in the 20s again?
No, we are not. We are not. By a hair. I'm going to
Oh,
give you another guess on it.
oh man. By a hair, 19,200.
Now you are over. $19,120.
Duh, I was so damn close.
Yeah, you were very close, but
With taxes,
tech
it got it to 1920.
that is true. I am going to count that as a win because you were very far under with your first guess. But I feel like if we had more than one player in this game, you probably would have lost. How about the ungraded copy, Shane? This one might be more your speed.
Um, let's go with $52.
You are under.
Am
Um,
I
less
blatantly
than
under?
half,
Oof.
$179.
Jeez Louise. Those always hurt me. But that's not bad. I mean, I'll take it. That probably doesn't have a cover though, I would assume. Or it has like a reprinted cover on it.
I'm not sure. But $179 for a book published within the first year of Volume 1 of Fantastic Four, not bad.
No, actually not really, no.
So, our creative team for today's issue, we have Stan Lee as the writer, pencils by Jack Kirby, inker was Dick Ayers, colorist Stan Goldberg, letterer Artie Simic, editor Stan Lee, and editor-in-chief also Stan Lee. Shane, would you like to hear a synopsis today?
Yeah, do we have one?
No.
Oh, of course it's Shane Ops's time.
You're right, and I always love hearing them for the Stan and Jack issues.
Oh, cool. So in The Return of Doctor Doom, Doom returns from space?
Yeah. Do you not remember?
No, that was like the question. It was like part of the
Oh, is this is
synopsis.
this just is this just your synopsis? Doom
Yeah.
returns from space. That's
Doom
that's what you're
returns.
keeping it at.
Doom returns from space. Yes. Question mark.
All right, and if y'all want to know how Doom went to space, go ahead and check out episode 17, where we covered Fantastic Four Volume 1, Number 6, Captives of the Deadly Duo. Yeah, that is the most simplistic synopsis you have ever done Really
I,
caught me off guard, honestly.
yeah, I know. I've been practicing. I've been paying attention to the Marvel the Marvel one. So trying to trying to up my game here.
Man, there's part of me that's just really disappointed.
Well, you can teach a new dog all tricks.
Anyway, Shane, thank you for the synopsis, I guess. Today's cover is by Jack Kirby, Dick Ayers, Stan Goldberg, and Artie Simic. Shane, would you like to take us through that?
Yeah, so it seems like a gentle cover for a Fantastic Four book from Jack, but it's like a light blue background. You have
What do you mean
the
by that? Before you go any further, what do you mean by a gentle cover?
because all right, so what do I mean by a gentle cover? So like cover one has obviously the monster coming out of the ground, right?
Right.
Number two has a whole bunch of stuff going on with the scrolls all over the cover. Number three obviously has the Fantastic Car and the skyline behind them and Johnny. Number four has Namor stealing Sue. Five has the whole TV Doom thing from that issue. Number six has Doom, Namor, a lot going on. Then seven, you get to the Wanted Dead or Alive. The Puppet Master actually has him puppeteering them. Then you have issue nine. I don't want to talk about this one, but we have to. The one where they have to sell everything or they lose the Baxter building. And then you get to this cover, because even the cover after this, 11, has a lot going on. This cover is just like, it's a blue background. There's no like extra art pieces anywhere else. There's because usually there he has very elaborate covers. This just seems like a very bland cover for a Jack issue.
Okay.
So I'm calling it soft.
All right. I think I disagree, but go ahead, take us through the cover.
Really, there's no background. It's just light blue. And I mean, you get Johnny and Ben wrestling with Doom there and Sue in the background looking just all kinds of concerned. And you have Reed in the forefront looking menacing, walking away from them. And then in the bottom, you have our surprise guests from the issue, which is Jack and Stan.
And Stan and Jack actually have some dialogue here on the cover of the issue. And Stan says, "How's this for a twist, Jack? We've got Doctor Doom as one of the Fantastic Four." And Jack says, "And Mr. Fantastic himself is the villain. Our fans ought to flip over this yarn." And below their dialogue is the caption: "In this epic issue, surprise follows surprise as you actually meet Lee and Kirby in this story, plus a gorgeous pinup of the Invisible Girl." And we also have a caption beneath the logo, which tells the reader to hold your breath. Here is the return of Doctor Doom.
I don't dislike this cover. It's just it seems like a very basic cover for a Jack issue. I'm used to having everything drawn out. This is
Sure.
like a Human Torch issue.
I don't know. I mean, I disagree with you just because when I think of soft covers, I think of stuff that's not related to the story. You know how, especially today, how we have covers that it's just like, oh, well, here's an image of the Fantastic Four posing. And as great as the Mark Waid and Mike Waringa run is, I feel like that run was incredibly guilty of stuff like that. At least initially. It was often just Ringo drawing the Fantastic Four in a group shot, either posing or running towards the camera, nothing to really deal with the story. Here you at least get some action on the cover. Ben has Doom by the collar. He's rearing back for a punch. The torch is flying in a loop around them. It looks like he might be getting ready to hurl a fireball at Doctor Doom. I will say, I feel like Jack never really knew what to do with Sue in these action shots. And I know we are pre her force fields, I believe, but this is yeah, it's just they were getting complaints about Sue kind of feeling useless, and really you can't say that they're not justified, right? Because every time it's always Sue posing, and she has kind of a concerned look on her face, right?
Yeah, on pretty much every cover.
But the expressiveness on Reed, I almost think like maybe you don't have those details because they really want your attention to be drawn to just that maniacal, evil look on the face of Reed Richards.
Maybe. I don't know. It falls flat for me personally for a Jack cover.
Okay. So we open up to the first page, Shane, and we are greeted immediately with the title of our story.
The Return of Doctor Doom.
And I remember remarking back in the last issue, Volume 1, Issue 9, which we covered in episode number 31, about how it was the first issue where we got those very recognizable Silver Age Marvel credits. And they're missing from this issue. So they obviously were not a permanent fixture yet, but along the bottom, we do have script Stan Lee, penciling Jack Kirby, inking Dick Ayers. So I'll be interested to see when those return. But right beneath the title of the issue, we have more or less a half-page splash. And what are we seeing here, Shane?
Yeah, we're seeing Reed trying out an experiment, trying to see if he can basically test Sue's invisibility, see if he can try to figure out how he can almost capture it on film.
And who is assisting him in this experiment, Shane?
Johnny's insisting him with, but he's flamed on for some random reason.
And his hands are flamed off, and he has a notepad and a pen, taking notes. And Reed adjusts him and says, "Don't move, Sue. I'm taking this picture of you with my electronic X-ray camera using radioactive film. Perhaps this time we'll get some clue to your power of invisibility." And Sue, invisible, says, "Please hurry, Reed. It's so hot and stuffy in here while Torch keeps his flame on." And Johnny responds, "Oops, sorry, Sue. I forgot. I'll flame off." And I really want to know why Johnny was even flamed on to begin with.
I don't understand that. Maybe he was cold.
And Reed examines the picture he took with his camera. "Look, Johnny, my vibrolate process captured Sue's outline slightly, even though she was invisible. Now, if we could only duplicate the process at will." "Reed, Johnny, look out the window." And what do we see, Shane?
We see the Fantastic Four flare.
Our emergency signal flare. Something's up. "It must be from the thing. He's the only one of us who isn't here." "Yippee! This means a new adventure for us. I dig that the most." "What's wrong, Reed? What are you waiting for?" And Reed is trying to open the door. "It's this blame door. I can't open it. The nuclear lock mechanism is jammed." And what does Johnny do?
Oh, Johnny goes to flame on and cut himself right through that nuclear powered door because it makes the most sense.
"Just step aside, pal. I'll burn it open in no time." But Reed grabs him. "Hey, what are you doing?" "Trying to stop you from blowing us up, kid. Did you forget how sensitive that nuclear device is to heat? We'll have to try it my way." And what does Reed do?
Reed tries to stretch himself through all of the floors and into the where the Fantastic Car is to bring it to them so that they can get out of the floor.
So Reed slips his arm beneath the door and it crawls down the hallway and up to the hangars. "I'll feel my way upstairs to where the Fantastic Car is garaged and try to fly it down to our window from there. This is tougher than I thought. Let's see. I think it's in this direction now." And what does Reed reach out and touch?
He runs into the pogo plane.
Oh no, I'm in the wrong hangar. This is the pogo plane, and the strain is too great. Can't stretch anymore. And Reed's arm snaps back into place.
With an actual snap.
Ow, feels like my muscles were caught in the ringer. You should never try to reach that far, Reed. And Johnny once again uses his flame on the door. Look, I learned something new. I can concentrate my flame so much that it burns without heat. The lock is open now. Thanks, Johnny. Let's forget the Fantastic Car now. We can make better time without it. The flare came from nearby. Now you're talking. Flame on! And Johnny takes to the air. Shane, what was up with this page?
The second page, the page that we're just
The
turning
whole
to.
of page two. Why is it
I,
here?
I don't know. To stretch it out to 24 pages, that's why.
Yeah, I mean there was literally no reason unless they're trying to implement that Reed has limits, which spoiler alert does not come back in the story at all. Maybe
Uh,
to just give Johnny the power of having his flame burn without heat,
or the fact that they have a nuclear door. Maybe that's the bigger thing is that he's allowed to have a nuclear powered door.
which never comes back in the story either.
I thought that the plane got sold in the last issue, so I'm still confused about
Yeah, but
that.
they got all their money back, so they were able to get all their devices back or build new ones.
Fair enough.
There's a lot of things in this page to me that feel like they should have been like Chekhov's gun, but none of them pay off.
There's some choices that were made in this book, and I feel like some of them were made to just stretch this book out.
I would love to see the margin notes that Jack Kirby is purported to have done on these pages prior to Stanley adding dialogue, as he was hoping to influence Stan a little bit one way or another. I would love to see what those say in comparison to what we got once Stan added dialogue. I doubt we'll ever be able to see that, but I'm
Those
curious
will
as to what Jack's context for this would have been. So turning to page three, Johnny flies out the window and buzzes over the heads of numerous bystanders. The flare came from around the corner. The thing must be visiting his girlfriend, Alicia. Gang way, folks. I'm in a hurry. And one of the passersby, thrown back by the flame, yells, Look out! It's the Human Torch! While another passerby, a woman, throws herself to the ground and yells, That young show-off should be taught a lesson before he hurts somebody. Meanwhile, Reed exits the building and is immediately assaulted by a mob of onlookers. Hey, there's Mr. Fantastic. Let's get his autograph. I want a piece of his uniform for a memento. Isn't he handsome? Come here, you adorable thing. But what does Reed do?
he sneaks his way through the crowd and ends up like basically crawling away from them.
And he thinks to himself, Phew, thank heavens for my stretching powers. However, I think Sue may have it worst of all, Shane.
Yeah.
She walks out onto the street and is immediately approached by a man, and it looks like he is trying to just embrace her in some fashion. And he says, Well, well, if it ain't the famous invisible girl. So this is what you look like. Mmm, you shouldn't ever turn invisible, doll. How's about a smile for one of your fans? Just wait till I tell him down at the pool hall that I met the invisible. Hey, what the? And what's happened, Shane?
She's turned invisible and ducked out the way.
Get lost, repulsive. And now to get to Alicia's apartment. That must be where the thing. And we see a green sedan coming up on Sue very quick. What's wrong with that driver? Is he trying to hit me? Oh, I forgot. I'm invisible. He doesn't see me. I've got to turn visible now. And the driver quickly jerks his wheel to the right,
Yeah.
and his tires make a noise, Shane.
Yeah, you get a nice scree as he careens away from her.
Holy smoke! Where'd that gal come from? Phew, he just missed me. And what happens to this car?
He crashes into a fire hydrant.
And we see that there is a police officer that is ducking out of the way of the stream of water as the driver yells, Honest, officer, it wasn't my fault. And the cop responds, I know, I know. I saw her too. Minutes later, what do we see?
We see the fantastic, well, the three parts of the Fantastic Four that weren't with Ben already rushing into Alicia's apartment.
And Alicia and Ben look towards the door as they burst in, and Ben's wearing his green overcoat and says, It's about time y'all got here. What's wrong, Thing? We thought you were in trouble. Flame off, you big baboon. Was it just a false alarm? Tell that hothead to simmer down, mister. Since when do I have to be in trouble in order to send for you? And Alicia says, It's my fault, Mr. Fantastic. He called you because of me. Well, no harm done, Alicia. What is it, Thing? I wanted you to see what Alicia's been working on. She's carved some miniature statues of some of the creeps we battled in the past. And who all do we see here, Shane?
We have Mole Man, Scrolls, Doctor Doom, Namor, and is that supposed to be Miracle Man?
Yes, yes, it is.
Okay, Miracle Man it is.
And Reed remarks, Amazing. It's hard to believe a girl who cannot see can have such a marvelous talent. They're so lifelike. It's almost frightening. But why did you have to include Prince Namor with those other menaces? After all, the Submariner wasn't as bad as they. I'm glad you mentioned that, Sue. I I've been wanting to talk to you about Submariner. I always thought we had an understanding, Sue. I thought, when the time was right, that you and I mean, don't say it, Reed. Please, not now. Not yet. I'm not even sure of my own feelings. And Johnny picks up the Namor statue to examine it and says, Boy, I'm glad I'm not old enough to have all those kind of mushed problems. And our narrator switches to that of who, Shane?
Stanley himself.
And that, dear reader, is as far as Jack Kirby and I got with our story before the unexpected happened. But let's show you just how it all came about. Our scene now changes to the studio of Kirby and Lee on Madison Avenue, where we find. And Jack is holding a cardstock sheet with the image of something on it. And what is it?
It's a new idea for a villain with he has glasses and a mustache and some crazy eyebrows and bald.
And Jack says, How about someone like this for our villain, Stan? We can call him Falseface. Not bad, Jack, but I think he sounds a little too commonplace. Our fans have grown to expect real exciting supervillains from us. Too bad that Doctor Doom was lost in space. He was possibly the greatest villain of all. Yeah, I'm sure we can't come up with a menace like him every day. And then it happened. And what exactly happened, Shane?
Doctor Doom walked through the door and into the offices of Jack and Stan.
Did someone mention my name? No, it can't be. It isn't possible. But it is. It's Doctor Doom. He's alive. But how? How did you save yourself from being hurled into endless space? And when was that again, Shane?
See Fantastic Four number 6, the diabolical duo join forces.
And again, we covered that back in episode 17. And Doom, pulling down his hood, remarks, It is a long story. We will not discuss it now. Now I have more important matters to attend to. Now it is time for my revenge. And he removes his face mask, and Stan and Jack both throw their hands up over their faces to avoid the sight. Ugh, that face! Don't take off your mask. Don't! I do not blame you for shrinking from the sight of me. I still cannot bear to gaze upon my face myself. And Doom at that moment turns towards a mirror and throws his arms up over his own face, which I think is one of the more comical panels in this issue.
It is.
But I must remove my mask at times, else I feel it will strangle me. But enough of that. You are searching for a story. Well, I shall give you one. Here, phone Mr. Fantastic. Say what I tell you if you value your lives. And Doom picks up the telephone receiver. And so we turn the page to part two, which is titled,
Back from the dead.
and we see Stan Lee now holding the telephone receiver, while Doctor Doom uses a ray that is housed in his fingertip to obliterate an ashtray on Stan's desk. Tell Mr. Fantastic to come here right away to discuss a new story with you. Try to warn him, and your fate will be worse than this ashtray's. Don't worry, I'm more anxious to see Mr. Fantastic right now than you are. And at their headquarters, Johnny has answered the phone and is handing it to Reed. Phone call for you, Reed. It's Lee and Kirby. They'd like you to go to their studio and work out a plot with them. Strange, we just finished discussing a new plot yesterday. Reed says on the phone. Very well. If it's important, I'll be right over. While Ben is lifting a tremendous set of barbells over his head and says, You talking to those two goons who write about us? When you see 'em, Buster, give 'em a message from me. Tell 'em if they don't stop making me look even uglier than I am, I'm liable to go up there and wrap this 2-ton weight around their skinny necks. And what does Ben do to the barbell?
He crushes it with his two hands, like starts to make it into a knot.
And Reed begins donning a brown suit and tie and says, Simmer down, thing. Tell me, what makes you so bad-tempered all the time? And Johnny, handing Reed his hat, remarks, You kidding, Reed? This is his good-natured mood. Usually he's even more unbearable. Very funny, twerp. Who writes your gags? The local undertaker? Well, I'll go see what Lee and Kirby want, and then... Hey, let go. Stop stretching my clothes, you two. Come on, stop it. And we see Johnny stretching Reed's fedora at least a good 10 feet, while Ben is stretching the leg of his pants. Johnny says, Aw, don't be a sourpuss, partner. We just want to make sure you remember to wear your stretch suit just in case you need it. What are you complaining about, Rubberface? We can't make your clothes look any worse. Again, this is a panel where I would have loved to have seen Jack Kirby's notes because it doesn't make any sense why they would be doing this.
No, it doesn't. Like it almost feels like it should be them trying to stop him, not them trying to test his flexible suit.
Meanwhile, across town from the scene of friendly horseplay, we find what, Shane?
We find Doctor Doom waiting for Reed to get to Jack and Stan's while he's kind of have them held hostage.
And Jack Kirby says, Doom, you're a fool if you think you can defeat the Fantastic Four. And Stan Lee says, They beat you in the past and they'll do it again. Silence. There is the buzzer. Answer it. And Stan picks up the phone and says, What's that? Reed Richards is outside? Yes, I'm expecting him. Show him in. Ah, my moment is at hand. Now step aside, quickly. And Doom draws a gun from the holster on his belt. As Reed walks in, Hello, fellows, And what happens, Shane?
He gets blasted by some gas as soon as he opens that door from Doctor Doom.
And he begins to faint with an, ugh. And Doom picks up the unconscious Reed Richards and throws him over his shoulder, pointing the gun now at Lee and Kirby. My sleeping gas will keep him helpless till I awaken him. I have given you a card with my address. Call the other three and tell them I shall wait for them there. They will gallantly rush to save their leader, and that will be their undoing. Now I shall leave as I arrived, by means of the mystic science known only to Doctor Doom. Farewell. for now. And Doom vanishes in a flash of green light. And in the next panel, only a cloud of smoke remains, as Jack says, it isn't possible. Jackson, with a guy like Doom, anything is possible. He seems so confident. I hope the Fantastic Four can defeat him. And thus, a few hours later, at the secret laboratory of the Master Menace, what do we see here, Shane?
We see Reed awaken while he's sitting in a chair while Doom is staring down at him. And then Doom is about to do the bad guy monologue.
Awake, Reed Richards. I command you. Dr. Doom, but how? I brought you here by means of my mental teleporter. I only have to think of a place, and I can be there. In a way, you are responsible for my obtaining this device, as well as the other marvels I possess. Let me explain. You may remember months ago, you thought you had seen the last of me as I was carried into space on a speeding meteor. But fortune was with me. Before very long, I was sighted by beings from another galaxy. They called themselves the Ovoids, and their science and culture were a million years ahead of ours. And we see Doom being drawn onto the ship of the Ovoids. And can you describe the Ovoids for our listeners?
Sure, they're rather tall, really skinny humanoids with giant egg-shaped heads. And they're all bald with little tiny ears. They kind of look like Lemon Grab from Adventure Time.
They really do. And one of the Ovoids says, "Welcome to our ship, Earthman." My first thought was to protect myself from them, but I learned it was not necessary. And we see Doom draw his gun on the Ovoids and yell, "Stay back! Come any closer and I'll fire." "Put away your puny weapon, mortal. We mean you no harm. If we wish to injure you, we could do it through the power of thought alone." And what do we see this Ovoid do?
Oh, lifts up one of their giant machines that is laying around their the deck of their spaceship
But he lifts it up how?
with his brain power, telekinesis.
"See how we can move objects of any weight as easily as you blink your eye?" And Doom thinks, if I could steal some of their powers, learn their secrets, the world would be mine. But their greatest secret of all was their secret of switching bodies. And we see one ovoid overlooking another ovoid in a sickbed, and Doom asks, what is wrong with him? "He is dying, but it is of no importance. We shall merely take him to the extra body chamber, where he changes to a new young body which has been previously designed for him. See, by this method we are practically immortal." And we see a row of about four ovoids, and one just walks right off this line, rejuvenated. They were so civilized that they trusted every other living thing. It was easy for me to learn their secrets and to ask them to return me to the planet Earth. Through a beam of pure energy, they lowered me to my home planet to prepare for my supreme revenge. And now, armed with the skills of ovoids, plus my own brilliant scientific genius, I am ready to undertake the complete defeat and destruction of the Fantastic Four. My first step to absolute dominion of all of Earth. Doom, I've heard enough. You're mad to think you can triumph over the four of us. Mad, am I? Just watch. And Doom places his hands flat on a desk and leans over it, concentrating hard. For more years than I care to remember, this mask of mine has been a prison, hiding a face too gruesome for human eyes to see. But now I shall gain my freedom. And in the next panel, we see drawings of Doom and Reed overlaid with each other. Had you forgotten what I told you about the power of switching bodies? And did you not suspect that all the time we were here talking, I was mentally controlling you, affecting you, changing you, until now at last I have broken free of my prison. I have changed bodies with you. And we see now that Doom's consciousness has swapped into Reed as Reed's expression has become much more sinister, Shane.
Yeah, it does become much more sinister. It just looks like it looks more like a Kirby face, like Jack Kirby's actual face. Any picture you ever see him?
You know, I can see that now that I'm looking at it. I was kind of thinking he looks like The Rock.
Yeah, with the eyebrow raised, but
Yeah.
like every time I look at it, I'm like, because I'm a big Kirby fan, so I've seen a lot of video of Kirby, and especially when he was older and stuff. And I'm like, man, he really just looks like Jack was like, what if I just draw my own face as the menace in this?
And Doom, as Reed looks down at his hands, I've done it. I've put my brain in the body of Reed Richards. And Reed in Doom's body looks like he's sitting up from a chair and says, I've I've become Dr. Doom, yet I still have Reed Richards' brain. Beneath this evil exterior, I am still Mr. Fantastic. But who would believe it? Doom, I don't know how you've accomplished this horrible thing, but you won't get away with it. You're whistling in the dark, mister. I now possess all your physical powers, plus my own knowledge of the black arts. You can't ever be a threat to me again. And Doom begins to strip off Reed's suit, revealing his Fantastic Four uniform. And Doom, who's actually Reed, rushes Reed, who's actually Doom, and manages to grasp him by both wrists. He says, I can't allow you to menace an unsuspecting world in the guise of Mr. Fantastic. I'll stop you even if it means the end of both of us. Ha! Brave words from one who is now my inferior. And what does Doom Reed do here?
He literally uses his stretchy arm to fling Doom off of him and into the floor, and then proceeds to like tangle him up with all the rest of his arms and legs to really drive home that Doom Reed has his work cut out for him.
Yeah, Reed is Doom is in a bad predicament here. Have you forgotten the power of Mr. Fantastic's body? A power which is now possessed by Doctor Doom? I can defeat you in 1,000 ways. You are putty in my hands. And Doom as Reed literally creates like a cat's cradle around Reed as Doom before releasing him. Shall not finish you off yet. You are still useful to me, for you shall help me to conquer your three partners. And unless I miss my guess, they should be just about to make their appearance right now. And at that very instant, what happens?
Ben breaks through a wall to get to where Reed and Doom are.
Where is he? Where's Doctor Doom? Let me at him. And that brings us to part three, Shane.
The end of Mr. Fantastic?
And we're greeted with another half-page splash. And what are we seeing now?
We see Ben having Reed Doom above his head, about to, smash him off the floor. Johnny flamed on, Sue calling out at both of them as they've rushed it forward, and Doom Reed trying to egg the thing on to do as much bodily harm as he can.
And I think that this really is where we get our inspiration for the cover from, is this panel. And again, I think we can go back and we can say that this is where Jack Kirby didn't really know what to do with Sue in action scenes, because even though you said that she's calling out, I mean, she has no dialogue in this panel. She's just there with that concerned look on her face.
Yeah, but it looks like she's calling out because her hand's actually crossed there. I'm hoping that someone didn't change that bubble, but I think that bubble that's to Ben was supposed to go to Sue.
Maybe so, maybe no. Again, wouldn't it be nice to be able to see those margin notes
Yeah, it would.
as Ben holds Reed as Doom over his head. So, Lee and Kirby were right. You did return. Well, I'm gonna make you wish you were back where you came from. And Doom as Reed yells. That's it, Thing. Let him have it. Don't give him another chance to escape. While Johnny remarks, Careful, Thing. You never know what trick Dr. Doom will try next. And Reed, as Doom, begins to plead his case to Ben. Wait, Thing, don't. I'm not Dr. Doom. I'm Reed. Do you understand? I'm Reed. Huh? What did you say? Look into my eyes. Listen to my voice. Trust your senses, your instinct. Can't you tell? Can't you see what's happened to me? Don't let him confuse you, Thing. You know how tricky he is. Don't let him break free. I don't need you to tell me that. I wasn't born yesterday. Why would an evil genius like Doctor Doom try to fool us with such a ridiculous story? Of course he's trying to trick us. Even now, while he's pleading for mercy, he could have escaped by using this atomic matter scrambler which was concealed in his armor. No, no, I didn't know it was there. Don't believe him, Thing. Listen to me. Shut your yap, playmate, before I shut it for good. You realize at last you cannot confuse us. You cannot divide us. We've caught you again, Doom, and this time you'll never escape. And the look on Reed's face is just absolute evil here.
Yeah, downright menacing.
I'm not beaten yet. My turn will come. And when it does, not a chance, Doom, because we're going to find a way to keep you from causing any more trouble forever. I know. I'll burn out a little isle surrounded by molten lava. It'll be incrossable for him to cross the flaming moat. And we see Doom with a tent and a couple crates of supplies just on a small piece of land that's surrounded by flame, courtesy of the Human Torch.
Yeah, it is so small too. Like that tent is half the size of Doom. Doom is freezing at night.
I mean, probably not. He's got all that fire there.
Okay, on a night where the wind blows the wrong direction, he's freezing that night.
Oh, I mean, on the night where the wind blows the wrong direction, probably not because his tent's on fire.
There's always that.
Johnny continues. Or else I'll create a blazing cell with Doom in the center. Once a week, I'll return to renew the flame. And again, we see Doom caged by fire. Simmer down, hothead. I'm sick of you always trying to hog the spotlight. The only way to really settle that corny punk is to toss him into a crevice in the desert and then shove a boulder over it. A boulder that no one can budge except yours truly. Shane, I'm going to be honest with you. I get we're talking about Doctor Doom here, but these three scenarios just seem ridiculous.
Oh, dude, they're terrible scenarios. I want to know how he can recharge the cage. Like the fire has battery power. I just can battery it up.
Yeah, there's a lot of mystery to Johnny's powers, especially at this point. Doom, as Reed interrupts all of this talk by saying, Those are excellent suggestions, boys, but I have a better idea. We'll lock him in the very chamber he had prepared for us. And he opens a trap door. And a moment later, what do we see?
We see Reed as Doom inside of this prepared chamber for well what he had prepared for the Fantastic Four initially. And it's gonna keep Doom Reed in there.
And Ben remarks, Wow, a thick, unbreakable plexiglass prison. But what if he runs out of air? We don't want to murder the creep. And Reed, holding a torch, says, Don't worry, Thing. There's sufficient air within the dome. He'll be safe until we can find a permanent way to render him harmless. This place gives me the creeps. And we see Sue, who's invisible at this moment for whatever reason, upon saying that, make her way up the stairs away from the prison. And Doom, as Reed says, Ah, the others have left. I didn't feel it necessary to tell them that there is only enough oxygen in those cylinders to last for 1 hour. After that, well, accidents will happen. And Reed as Doom begins pounding on the glass. That's it. Struggle. Use out your oxygen as fast as you can. What a fitting end to my archenemy. But you may take comfort in the knowledge that the fate I have planned for the other three will be even more ingenious. And so farewell. You have been doubly imprisoned, imprisoned behind unbreakable glass, and imprisoned forever in another body. How sweet is my revenge! Never was a triumph so complete, so glorious, and no one shall ever know. To all the world, I shall always be Reed Richards. Dr. Doom has found the perfect hideout in the form of Mr. Fantastic, and Doom wanders down the hall until the light of his torch is engulfed by the darkness. And so we are on to part four, Shane.
No place to turn.
A short time later, at the Fantastic Four's headquarters, what scene do we have?
Well, we have Ben reading the newspaper, talking about how zoo animals are missing. Sue beside herself with all the zoo animals running around that are all shrunk. And Johnny flamed on. And they're all discussing what's going on about these missing zoo animals and why do they all are the missing zoo animals that are missing are in the Baxter building.
Yeah, I would say these are about what? But each of these animals is about maybe a foot tall, maybe.
Yeah, they're 1/12 scale.
Johnny says, "Say, what's going on, Sue? Where'd you get all the toy animals?" "They're not toys, Johnny. Incredible as it seems, they're alive. They ran out when we opened Reed's lab door." "I don't get it. What new experiment is he working on now? And how does it tie up to this newspaper headline?" "And what's that headline, Shane?"
Zoo animals missing.
And Johnny flames off to handle the animals. "Well, we'd better round him up and return him to the lab before Reed gets back." "Yes, you know how angry he gets if anyone interferes with his work." "Big deal. So what'll we do to me? Slap my wrist? Come here, you pesty critter." And Ben uses a waste paper basket to cage one of the animals. But who enters the room just now, Shane?
None other than Doom Reed himself with his nice green coat and his cap.
Well, what's going on here? "It's okay, Reed. These little animals got loose and we're trying to put them back." "Looks to me like you're the one with the explaining to do, buddy." I suppose you're right. You want to know where these tiny creatures came from, eh?" And Reed begins to replace one of the cages that holds a miniaturized elephant. "Blamed right we do. And if you're the joker who's stolen from the zoo, then Matt makes old holier than thou Reed as much of a lawbreaker as anyone else." "Wait, don't condemn me until you've heard my motives. I only did it for you. Look, do you see this little device? It is my new reducing ray." Describe the reducing ray to us, Shane.
Ironically, it ends up looking like a blaster from Star Wars. So it's a pistol with a little satellite on the front and all kinds of knobs and doohickeys. And for some reason, a knuckle cover so you could use it to bash people in the head.
And Sue asks, "Reducing ray? But why?" And Doom thinks to himself, "All right, sister, you're asking for it. I'll come up with a story that will have the three of you begging me to seal your own doom. I developed that ray to help me increase your own powers. It may be hard for you to understand, so let me give you a little example. As you know, ages ago, the dinosaurs were the lords of Earth, but unfortunately for them, their bodies grew too large while their brains remained the same, until they simply grew themselves out of existence. And we see prehistoric dinosaurs fighting one another. But what if they had been smaller? If their bodies had been a fraction of their natural size, then their brains would have been much larger by comparison. Today, the dinosaurs might still be the rulers of Earth. And what do we see in this panel?
Oh man, dinosaurs with space suits and some kind of contraption. Like it looks like survey equipment on top of their shoulder, and there looks like they're on the moon because the Earth's there down below them, and that's a rocket they took to the moon.
How do you feel about this science?
The science? Oh, it's sciences so well, buddy. Didn't you know? Weren't you aware of the fact that this they grew so big that their brains couldn't keep up, so they just died?
I must have missed that day of school.
Yeah, there was no meteor shower that destroyed the Earth. That didn't happen. Don't worry about that. That was made up.
Doom as Reed continues. I intend to use my reducing device inside of our nuclear-powered atomic activator, and to subject each of us to its rays. For a short time, we will each be reduced to a fraction of our normal size. Take the torch, for instance. Imagine if he could shrink to a much smaller size, and while shrinking, imagine if he could still retain all of his amazing powers. And we see Reed shrink the torch to an inch in height. Then, after returning to his normal size again, he would find that his powers had increased. He could maintain his flame for a much longer period of time. He could outfly a jet. He would do many things that are yet impossible for him. And we see Johnny in the stratosphere racing a rocket. As for Sue, once her powers were increased, she could make any part of her body invisible by simply wishing it, and she could control her invisibility for as long as she wished. Hey, isn't that already her powers?
Yeah,
Okay, I thought I was crazy here for a second.
yeah, we haven't touched on any of her other powers yet. She followed Johnny for hours invisible. So, yeah, that's basically her power set. Being forgotten.
And Doom as Reed continues. And you, Thing, how desperately you have wished to become human again. Well, once your powers have been magnified through my ray, you will achieve your heart's desire. Think, Ben Grimm. Think of being able to return to your normal self merely wishing it. Think what my ray might mean to you, to your loved one, Alicia. And now, tell me that I should not have broken the law by borrowing those animals to experiment upon. Shane, this makes my brain hurt.
We'll get back to this when we go over our FF. Don't worry, buddy.
And Johnny flames on in excitement and begins zooming around the room. Yo-wee! Lead me that little old Ray, Daddy-O. I want to be first. And he nearly scorches Ben, who yells, Look out, you flamin' featherbrain. Scorch me again like that, and I'll reduce you to ashes. Besides, I'm gonna be the first one to get doused with that ray. I'm the oldest and the strongest. And he goes to hit Johnny, but instead connects with the wall.
Yeah, with a nice pow.
Stay still, blast you. But Sue inserts herself into the situation, admonishing Ben. Benjamin J. Grimm, I'm surprised at you. Have you never heard of ladies first? Where are your manners? The ray should be turned on me. While Doom thinks to himself, it worked. They fell for my story like a ton of bricks. Reed Richards would have seen through it. But a little scientific double talk can fool almost any other unsuspecting victims. He then approaches the other three and says, Let's not rush things, my friends. Give me a few more hours to perfect the ray, and then I'll put you under it all at the same time. And once they depart, he says, They're gone, the fools. I'm enjoying this too much. I can't end it so soon. I've got to toy with them a while longer, to savor my plan, to cherish the thought of my greatest victory. Little do they suspect that my reducing ray does work as I claimed, but he grabs a bucket and places it in front of the ray. If I continue to keep the ray on, the object which is shrinking continues to shrink and to shrink until it is shrunk into nothingness. The nothingness which is to be the fate of the invisible girl, the torch, and the accursed thing. And the bucket vanishes from sight. Meanwhile, back at the dungeon of Doctor Doom, the air begins to thin out within the unyielding glass cage, and Reed continues to pound upon the glass. Must get free somehow. Must find a way out. My life doesn't matter, but Sue, Johnny, Ben can't fail them. Can't let Doom destroy them. Doom's face mask. Perhaps if I take it off, use it as a weapon. And we see Reed start to bash the glass with Doom's mask. No, it's no good. I can't crack it enough to get through to the air. The glass is too thick. Nothing short of an explosion would. Wait, an explosion! That's it! These oxygen cylinders won't be any good to me soon. But now, while there is still some air remaining, he grabs one of the oxygen cylinders and he wedges it into the glass. I'll put one of them in the crack I made with the helmet, and then smash the other against it. If only I can hurl it hard enough. Shane, it looks like he didn't make a crack with this mask. It looks like he literally made a hole in this glass.
Yeah, so there should be oxygen pouring in, I would think, because there's a giant hole.
But nonetheless, he throws one oxygen canister at the wedged oxygen canister, and what happens?
Oh, we get a giant blam as the glass breaks. I mean, I guess luckily for him, he's inside of the Doom suit. So I'm assuming he threw it and turned around and it just shattered the ricocheted all off of all the metal that he would have been in.
And he exclaims, "It worked. The impact of the two oxygen cylinders caused an explosion. I'm free." Hey, Shane, how do we feel about the science here?
Not great. If you're going to ask me about the science of this book, it's going to be the whole time not great.
Well, I'm glad to hear we're on the same page. Long, torturous moments later, a wary, desperate, yet strangely undaunted figure enters the apartment of the gentle Alicia. And we see Reed, still as Doom, haul himself into Alicia's apartment. Do not be alarmed. I have come because I need your help. Who are you? I am Reed Richards, but you must give me a chance to explain. Something horrible has happened. The Thing, Sue, Johnny, they're in the gravest danger. Your voice, it is not the voice of Mr. Fantastic. I know. That is what I must make you understand. But behind Reed, what do we see, Shane?
Oh man, we see Sue sneaking up behind him, invisible, with a vase to smash him in the head.
And Sue thinks to herself, good thing I was here visiting Alicia when Doom came in. He might have convinced the trusting child. And thus starts part five, Shane.
The real Doctor Doom.
And we see Doom, having been struck with the vase, collapsing into Alicia's sculpture of the Thing. And Sue says, there, lucky I struck a vulnerable spot. Oh, Alicia, if I hadn't been here to tell you the good news about Ree's Ray, I shudder to think what might have happened. I I better call the others right away. What happened, Sue? I heard the sound of a muffled blow. Was it, could it have been the awesome Doctor Doom? Hello, operator? Get me the Fantastic Force headquarters. Hurry! And Alicia kneels down over Doom's body and caresses his face. Strange. Beneath this cold steel, I can feel a warmth of spirit, of kindness. I don't understand. How can that be Doctor Doom? There's an aura of goodness about him, of nobility. Alicia, you don't know what you're saying. You're talking about the most sinister, the most ruthless menace on Earth. He's the most dangerous human of all time. Even before Alicia can frame an answer, The door crashes open, and a thundering mass of fury and muscle seizes the now conscious figure before him. And Ben rushes into the room and grabs Doctor Doom. So, you tried to scare Alicia, did you? Nothing can save you from me now, you miserable ghoul. No, thing. I meant no harm. Wait. And Alicia tries to place herself between the thing and Doom. And the torch flames his way around Ben and says, Thing, get him a chance to speak. Maybe. Keep out of this, Torch. I ain't kidding now. He threatened Alicia. Do you hear me? He dared to threaten Alicia. And Ben winds up to deliver a devastating punch to Doom. This is it, Doom. I'm gonna demolish you. No, Thing. You can't. You mustn't. Hear me, Thing. Hear me. And Ben's expression slightly softens, and he says, What? What's wrong with me? Why did I stop? Why can't I smash you? It's as though something inside of me is holding me back. It's your instinct, Ben. I knew it would save me. I must be losing my marbles. Maybe I'm cracking up. Come on, Torch. Let's get him back to headquarters. For once, I'm willing to let Reed decide what to do. Suddenly, I feel all mixed up. And Ben tosses Doom over his shoulder, and he and Johnny and Sue, who's still invisible, all go down to the street level to the Fantastic Car, where what are they greeted with?
A bunch of kids playing in the Fantastic Car and some adults watch them.
Hey, get away from our Fantastic Car, kids! Beat it! I told you not to park it there. Look, the thing in the torch in person. Wow! And the Fantastic Car takes off and flies over the city. Johnny says, Guess we can't blame kids for poking around the Fantastic Car thing. I'd do it myself if I saw it parked in the street. Who cares about that? I want to know why I couldn't pulverize Doom. What if I'm losing my guts? What if I turn chicken? And so, what do we see back at the Baxter building?
We see Doom looking defeated sitting there while the rest of the Fantastic Four are trying to figure out what to do while Reed is contemplating to himself, or Doom as Reed.
As in Doom as Reed thinks, Blast. How did Richards escape? I've got to move fast now. Reed, we brought Dr. Doom here so you could tell us what to do with him. And Reed as Doom says, No, no, don't ask him. Not him. How can I convince you? There must be some way. And Reed binds Doom's wrist and says, There. I put electronic coil ropes on his wrist. They'll keep him harmless for a while. Now let's get to the ray. Once I've increased your powers, you'll be better able to deal with Doctor Doom. And he thinks to himself, Can't waste a second. I've got to dispose of these three while Richards is helpless. And so the three begin to approach the ray area, and Doom as Reed adjusts the dials and says, That's it, Sue. Now you stand next to her, Torch. And you too, Thing. This is a great moment for us. He thinks to himself, They'll never know how great. In a few seconds, I'll be rid of them forever. And then I can finish Mr. Fantastic off at my leisure. But at that instant, a desperate figure hurls himself into the room. And what do we see here, Shane?
Oh, we see Reed as Doom come rushing in the room, trying to prevent them from getting in front of that shrink ray.
Don't do it. Don't let him train that ray on you. Believe what you want about me, but don't trust him. He'll destroy you. And what does Doom as Reed do?
Trips him.
Using an elongated leg. Stay back, you meddling fool. Back, I say. And Ben has a hushed conversation with Johnny, saying, Now I know what's been bugging me. It sounds crazy, but Reed somehow don't sound like Reed. I've been thinking the same thing. Let me handle this thing. I've got an idea. There are some construction men excavating a building foundation on the street below. By controlling my heat, I can warm up the particles in the air here enough to cause a heat mirage. And what do we see the construction workers doing, Shane?
Oh, we see them throwing some dynamite into holes, just normal things construction workers do.
Johnny continues. Making the dynamite's reflection seem to be right in this room. Stand back, thing, and watch. And we see before Johnny and Sue and Ben the stick of dynamite appear. And how do we feel about the science of this, Shane?
Oh, I've been trying to figure out the science behind this all afternoon, and I was thinking maybe a mirage with mirrors.
Yeah, I don't think they're in a room with windows either.
None of it makes sense.
Reed, as Doom, however, sees the dynamite and exclaims, Dynamite, about to go off. Got to pull the fuse before Sue and the others are injured. And he leaps towards the stick of dynamite, while Doom, in the body of Reed, exclaims, Dynamite, I'll save myself by slithering up this vent. And he begins to funnel himself into a pipe. And Ben yells, Hey, where are you going? And he begins to pull Doom as Reed out of the pipe. Come back here, Buster. You got a heap of explaining to do. No, let go, you fool. Are you mad? Brother, you don't know how mad. Crazy as it is, I believe that you and Reed switched bodies. Yeah, my trick worked. I knew the real Doctor Doom would try to save his own worthless hide, while the real Mr. Fantastic would try to save the rest of us. You, you know? And at that split second, under the staggering shock of learning that his incredible scheme has been exposed, Doctor Doom unthinkingly relaxes his mental control over the two bodies. And in front of everyone's startled eyes, the awesome change takes place once more. And Doom says, What have I done? I am myself again. I have failed. I've been defeated by the accursed Fantastic Four. And the Fantastic Four begin to surround Doom. Stop. Stay back. All of you. I'm still Doctor Doom. You'll never bring me to justice, do you hear? I'll find a way to beat you yet. And they continue to close in as Doom yells. Back, I say. None may lay a hand on Doctor Doom. I still have one more ace I can play. And what does Doom do, Shane?
Doom uses a little finger pistol again. I love that he holds the top of it like it's aiming.
While you were in my form, Richards, you never suspected that my right index finger houses a sub-miniature transistor-powered atomic blast gun. Nothing can withstand its impact. You shall now all learn. And Reed luckily ducks out of the way. Doom, you're not shooting at clay pigeons. We've had plenty of practice in dodging wild, hastily aimed shots. Blast it. Missed. But I hit the control panel of my reducing ray machine. Oh no. And what happens, Shane?
Once he hits that, it actually ends up turning on and hitting him with the reducing ray.
Turn it off. Do you hear? Turn it off. I'm right in its path. It's bathing me with its deadly beam. And Reed shuts down the machine. All right, it's off, but what? And what begins to happen here?
Doctor Doom begins to shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink.
Too late. I was under it for too long. The fate I had planned for the others will now be mine. Do something. Don't let me shrink to nothingness. You've got to help. Hurry, hurry, quick. In another few seconds, it'll be too late. And Doom shrinks out of view between the feet of Reed Richards. And Sue puts her head in her hands and says, "Oh, what a way to go. And yet how fitting that he should meet the fate he had planned for you. Reed, after today you'll always be top dog in this combo. He always was, Ben, but you never admitted it. Surprise follows surprise in our next great issue. More thrilling details about the origin of the FF, a special pinup of Submariner, and Meet the Impossible Man. Reserve your copy today. Stan and Jack. The end. And what follows, Shane, is what?
Oh, the Fantastic Four pinup page.
And who do we have this time?
Oh, the Invisible Girl.
In a nice star-shaped caption, Sue Storm, the glamorous invisible girl. Another caption informs us that, in answer to many requests, note the details in the control panel of Sue's section of the fabulous Fantastic Car. And you can see that very well because she has been kind enough to turn the lower half of her body transparent for us. What do you think of those controls?
Yeah, that's what people were asking about was the controls, but it is cool that they show off the controls. I love when you get any of the Jack's like scientific and fun stuff when is just let to do his own devices.
So we kind of glossed over it. Describe the pinup page here to us, Shane.
All right, so the pinup page is Sue, half invisible, half visible, I guess, and she's literally in just her section of the Fantastic Car. I was going to call it the Invisible Car, but that's totally a different thing. You do get a really good picture of the dashboard. It looks like there's the communicator over there on the other side of where her seat is, and she's waving at the crowd because on the top of the building behind her, the building to the right of her, and some people in the windows below that one where the three people are waving at her, they're all just taking a look at her as she's just running around. It's like she's parading around town.
Yeah, I honestly, I think this is the best that Jack has ever drawn Sue, quite frankly.
Yeah, she's glamorous.
And the pinup page is, it almost looks like a photograph in a magazine, right? Like this is Sue in Vogue, pretty much, right? Or maybe I don't know, Maxim. I don't want
This
to say
is
like Playboy. I feel like
no
that would be
Vogue.
much more risque, right?
Vogue, much more Vogue. Yeah, this is where Madonna got her look from.
And we have a little message from Sue here at the bottom that says, "Loving kisses to my wonderful fans, Sue." And it's dated for 1962. Very nice pinup of the Invisible Girl, as she was called at this time.
Yeah, I really hate that title.
It's okay. They would change it, after 25 years. Anyway, Shane, how did you feel about this book today?
I had fun with it as long as you just have to like ignore the fact that the science makes no sense. But for a comic science, I guess maybe.
I don't know. Even for Comic Science, it was a bit of a stretch for me. Like, I don't get me wrong, I enjoyed this story. I enjoy this story much more than I enjoyed issue 9. A lot more. Leaps and bounds more. But oh man, there were times where it just pulled me out of the story the amount of times I was going, "What? What did I just read?" Like I had to go back and reread it, and even then I was still confused. I reread the science blurbs so many times.
Yeah,
And I
that
did enjoy
happens.
how Doom referred to it as scientific double talk. I think he should have referred to it as scientific nonsense.
I mean, it was nonsense.
So we got our Fantastic Four of the week. This time I go first.
Yep.
So I'll start with the Fantastic Frame. So literally my favorite panel of this entire issue was the splash page on page 24, the pinup of Sue Storm.
Oh man, what a cheat.
I mean, I don't know.
I almost went with it, so that's why I said a cheat. I thought it was a cheat, so I didn't do it.
No, it's in the book. I'm picking it. There's a lot that happens in this issue, but there was nothing that really stood out to me really as definitive. But this pinup page is like the definitive image of Jack Kirby Sue Storm. And she very much looks like the celebrity superhero adventurer, especially thanks to, those onlookers that are waving to her from the windows and the rooftops. And that star-shaped caption really adds to it as well. Normally, I mean, placements of captions are important, but the shape of this one really emphasizes the entirety of her identity, especially at this point in the Fantastic Four's career. And I find that kind of unique and really cool.
Yeah, I very much enjoyed that pinup page also, but was not mine.
So, what was yours in that case, Shane?
Oh, mine was page 15, panel 7.
And that was,
Dinosaurs in spacesuits.
you know, the image by itself, if you take it away from all context,
Oh yeah,
is incredible.
that's what you have to do. You just don't read any of the things that they're there. I was just like, that's a dinosaur in space with a spacesuit. That's amazing. I went for just that is so much fun. Like I would wear that t-shirt all the time. People are like, where is that from? Don't worry about it. If I have to explain it to you, you're not part of the gang.
That is fair. It is a cool panel. I will give it that.
It's so much fun.
It is.
So I guess I'm first for Grim Grumbling, huh?
Yeah, so, yeah, what was your grim grumbling this time
Um,
around?
how they didn't question the weird way that Reed was talking to them initially, and it wasn't till like later in the book that they finally were like, "Man, it doesn't sound like Reed's talking to us." I mean, it is essential to the story. The one that really, really bothered me the most was the fact that like he's like, "Well, clearly I just took the zoo animals to make you guys better." Like, I didn't do anything wrong. Stealing them wasn't wrong if I'm testing on them for you guys, right?
Yeah, to say nothing about the morality of animal testing.
Not just animal testing, theft. And they just went with it. And I'm like, what? What did I just read? So, yeah, I'm sorry. That was my grim grumbling. I was like, I get it, but they should have wrote Doom more compelling to be read. Like he could have got lab rats to tell that story without him having to steal zoo animals, and then he could have still done this stuff, which would have still been like animal testing and weird, and then we would have went somewhere else. But like, yeah. So what's yours?
Well, I'm gonna respond to yours just briefly here. Maybe they did this purely to show that obviously Doom is evil. Like they're trying to sow those doubts in to the Fantastic Four, and they do question it, and he comes up with this wild explanation to get himself out of trouble. So, I mean,
Yeah,
I think it's, obviously it's the curse of old comics, right? Like it's a less mature medium then than it is now. But I see your point.
they just buy it. That's the part that bothers me the most.
Well, mine's a page or two later. I actually listed it out as page 15, panel 6 and 7, all of page 16. And well, I don't have it in my notes, but let's throw in all of page 17 as well. Doom's entire fake plan nearly gave me an aneurysm because it's all just so wrong on every level. And even worse, Ben and Sue and Johnny all buy into it immediately and fight to be the first ones to take part of this reducing ray crap. And I'm thinking to myself as I'm reading those panels, we have those moments where the real Reed Richards seems really short-tempered with them sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably because he's surrounded by idiots constantly. Like, this is the dumbest thing.
I mean, after you read this, it's I can't even make an argument, man. They're dumb. You're
Yeah.
right. They're dumb. I would love to protect Ben, but like he's the first one that's dumb.
Actually, technically, Johnny's the first one that's done. then Ben, then Sue. But they're all really just dumb at once. So, I don't know. It made my head hurt and it made me really disappointed in our heroes.
All right. What's your cosmic cliffhanger for this one, buddy?
Oh man, page
If you,
7, panel 7.
I wasn't sure if you found one after
I
all
did.
of the science being crazy in this book.
No, page 7, panel 7. Doom kidnapping Reed from the Marvel Comics offices. The whole question of where he's taking him and what his scheme is had me on the edge of my seat the first time that I read this. Obviously, we kind of get what his scheme is from the cover, but I don't know exactly how he's going to accomplish that. So, what was your cosmic cliffhanger, Shane?
Mine was 13, panel 5.
Doom and Reed's body exiting through the cavern?
No, that's 7.
Uh,
Reed staring out the glass at Doom in
Oh,
Reed's body, about to turn around and leave him there, where you just see him holding the glass with one hand, and you're just like, does Reed get out of this? I mean, obviously, it's comics, so you know he's getting out of it, but it leaves him in a big predicament because he's like, of course, we'll use up all of your oxygen. See what happens.
okay. I mean, as I always say, mortal peril definitely makes for the best cliffhangers. So.
Yeah, that's it stuck with me. So,
All
uh,
right, you're up first for most fantastic player. Who's the MVP of the issue?
I kind of have it split, but I ended up sticking, I think, with Ben just because he ends up being the reason that Reed doesn't get destroyed and Reed's able to get back into his own body. If it was up to Sue at that before Ben stepped in there, she was gonna send him back to jail or give him to right to Reed. So
All
I
right,
went with Ben. What about yours?
I went in a different direction. I went with Johnny because he caused the mirage that exposed Doom's identity. Even though
That's a good one.
mirages don't work that way at all.
No.
I don't know. Maybe I should change my grim grumbling. It's too late now. But still, Johnny, I felt like he had the pivotal moment where things turned with his idea of how to expose fake Reed and true Reed.
Yeah, so we both went the same direction. I just went with the one that like kind of felt out that it was Doom was Reed first, I guess, for lack of better way of putting it.
Fair enough. Well, true believers, if you want to read this story for yourself and experience all the trippy comic book science nonsense, I feel bad even calling it comic book science. I'm going to be honest with you.
Oh, this is just nonsense.
Yeah,
It's
this is
just
it's a step beyond. But you can find this story in, well, let's be real, it would be on a key issue wall, realistically, at a local comic book store. However, there are also several reprints, the first of which was in April of 1967 with Marvel Comics Collector's Item Classics number 8. Over in the Spanish-speaking market, we have Los Cuatros Fantásticos number 5. That was published in 1969. Marvel UK had their own reprints starting in February of 1973 with Mighty World of Marvel numbers 20 and 21. And 5 years later, in February of 1978, Complete Fantastic Four numbers 20 and 21. In trade, you could first find this in Marvel Masterworks Fantastic Four Volume 1, published in November of 1987, as well as Essential Fantastic Four Volume 1 in November of 1998, which was black and white on newsprint paper. Those things were so great because the price point was cheap. I used to be able to find them at conventions for $5. Now you can find them at conventions for cover price because they've stopped printing them.
yeah, I miss them.
Today I read this issue in Fantastic Four Omnibus Volume 1, which was published in January of 2005. Again, it was reprinted for the European market in Panini Comics Fantastic Four Adventures Volume 1, Number 10 in April of 2006. Shane, I bet you dove into Fantastic Four Epic Collection Volume 1, the world's greatest comic magazine today, correct?
Oh yeah, buddy, it's right there.
That was published in September of 2014. And Doctor Doom Epic Collection Volume 1, Enter Doctor Doom, was published in November of 2025 and also includes this story. And last year on October 8th, there was a facsimile edition also printed of Fantastic Four Volume 1, Number 10. You can also find it on Marvel Unlimited. Phew, that was quite the list.
Yeah, it's one of them big lists.
As far as adaptations in other media, there is one, Shane, and that came from 2006's Fantastic Four World's Greatest Heroes animated series. Episode 4, titled Doomed, takes a lot of elements from this story and quite frankly, I think tells a better story with them than the original issue. Not to take anything away from this issue, but at least watching that episode didn't make my brain want to explode out of my ears. When Doom trades bodies with Mr. Fantastic, instead of using ovoid science, he uses nanites to do so, which requires Reed to utilize his recent discovery of the microverse to make the switch back eventually. I feel like Doom has a better strategy in this episode as far as dealing with the Fantastic Four than he does in this issue because instead of trying to shrink them out of existence, he just uses the fact that he's in Reed's body to tell Ben that he's not going to work on a cure for him, to tell Johnny in front of a camera crew that he is blatantly irresponsible, and to really put Sue off of her game by canceling all of Reed's lecture sessions to say that he wants to spend more time with her. So he utilizes the fact that he's in Reed's body to just kind of sow chaos around the Baxter building before trying to use its nuclear reactor to destroy several New York City square blocks.
What a good guy.
Really ramps
He's
up the tension.
he's such a hero.
Well, Shane, care to take a guess at what we're covering next week? I'll give you a hint. It's the second week of the month.
Oh, it's gonna be number five of is it number five of Human Torch?
No, you are an issue ahead. We're going to be looking at Human Torch Volume 3, Number 4 by Carl Kessel and Scotty Young.
I think I have that in my notes, and I just am an idiot.
Don't be so hard on yourself. As
Well,
always, true believers, we thank you for joining us this week. Remember that your feedback and suggestions are important to us. We would be highly appreciative if you left us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. You can also always leave a comment or a review on Spotify. And subscribe to us on your preferred listening platform so you can catch our new episodes each and every week. You can find us on Facebook at the Fantastic Four Fancast, where we encourage you to engage in FF related discussions and share Fantastic Four content. We only ask that you adhere to group rules, and the most important of those is to be respectful. Though honestly, Shane, I'm about ready to implement some rules regarding AI and maybe posting entire issues because I don't necessarily feel like really good about that, you know?
yeah, I don't either feel really great about entire issues getting put up.
You can also follow us on Instagram at Fan4Fancast. That is FAN, the number 4, FANCAST. And if you have any suggestions or feedback, you can send them to us by email. We're at fan4fancast at gmail.com. Again, that is FAN, the number 4, FANCAST at gmail.com. What are your final thoughts over this week, Shane?
I had fun with this. I just had to, ignore all facts that I know of how science works, and you'll have a great time with this book.
Yeah, you just got to turn your brain off. And I realistically had to go back and do that several times in order not to get pulled out of the story. But it is a fun tale. Definitely has an incredible trope that will be revisited with Doom doing mind swaps. So it's an important story in Fantastic Four history.
I feel like every time Doom shows up, it's usually an important story in Fantastic Four history.
I mean, at least early on it is.
Is there, I can't think of a time. I'm sure there's times that he shows, like where he shows up and it's not important.
Well, when he starts showing up more frequently in the series, like you gotta remember, we're in the first year here, right? So he's showing up 3 times now.
Yeah.
And each time has introduced an innovation. But after a while, when he starts showing up a little more frequently, sometimes it's worth it, sometimes it's not. As always, true believers, we thank you once again for joining us. For Shane Murray, I'm Nate Charles. Until next week, stay fantastic.